Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Thursdays 13 and we are looking at some wild and random news here on Thursday because we have no other theme other than the 13 things we put on a list. So let's go ahead and don't forget to subscribe, turn that notification bell, and let's get into our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, U.S. says F-16s to fly over to Ukraine this summer. And Paris 2024 Olympics. Seine is no dirtier than anywhere else, says para-triathlon champion Alexis Hanquicquan.
And articles of impeachment are raised against Thomas and Alito and the world's economies, booming economy, as the stock markets are soaring.
EU halts Georgia's ascension to the bloc, freezes financial aid over much criticized law.
And Thursday's 13 today, we look at the countries with the most satellites.
From the Guardian archives, the Beatles' triumphant return to Liverpool from 1964.
And it's National Mojito Day. It's 7-Eleven Day also, so get out there and get them free Slurpees on July 11th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Yeah, 7-Eleven does not serve mojitos, but hey, maybe you could ask them to do it today. Because today's the day. You know, hey, what the hell, man? Where's your mojitos?
Free Slurpee. Free Slurpee. If I say slushy, I meant Slurpee.
Well,
whatever.
Hopefully none of the pilots in the F-16s that are being sent to Ukraine are drinking mojitos today. This is by Ariel Punet on Eurocitiv. I never know how to say this. Is it Eurocitiv? Eurocitiv?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. U.S.-made F-16 fighter jets and additional air defense systems are on their way to Ukraine and are expected to be operational this summer, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Wednesday, July 10th, following NATO's decision to boost the country's air defense. The F-16s will be flying in the skies of Ukraine this summer, Blinken said on Wednesday, the 10th of July, before the NATO summit kicked off. The American-made fighter jets are on the way. The transfers happen as we speak, he said. The F-16s were requested by Ukraine last year to improve the protection of its population and armed forces and gain air superiority against the Russians. The deliveries of the plane to the war-torn Ukraine have been delayed due to the need for Ukrainian pilots to be trained on Western-made jets. Their training started in autumn, including English language courses before the pilots were allowed to fly in the air. Dutch Defense Minister Ruben Brekelmans, leading the coalition to supply the F-16s, said he could not give a clear timeline. We are not only looking at F-16s, but also the required ammunition, he told the press, including Eurocitiv on Wednesday, 10th of July. We shall not put any limitations on the use of the jets and ammunition, he added, as NATO members agreed that Ukraine can use Western-delivered defense equipment to hit targets in Russian territory, which is something Hungary is against, right? They don't want Ukraine attacking Russia. They only want Ukraine defending themselves. But according to Hungary, the land that Russia has is now theirs, so they're not allowed to attack it. Commentating on the impact F-16 deliveries can have on the battlefield, a senior NATO official said, "If you can call on close support from overhead, that gives a significant impact and an ability to move a battlefront forward." However, managing expectations, they added, this conflict is not likely to be over anytime soon. It is something that's going to take years of dedicated efforts to ensure that Russia does not prevail. Ahead of the summit, the United States, Germany, and Romania pledged 5 additional air defense systems, including the U.S.-made Patriots. The Netherlands will donate Patriot parts, and Italy will send Franco-Italian-made parts, SAMP/T. Ukrainian officials pressed their backers for air defense systems in recent months, saying they identified 100 available Patriots. In the coming months, the United States and partners intend to provide Ukraine with dozens of tactical air defense systems, including NASAMS, Hawks, Iris-T SLMs, Iris-T LCS, and geopod systems, the White House also announced on Tuesday, July 9th. Washington, they said, will resequence planned deliveries of critical air defense interceptors in coordination with partners, so they are delivered to Ukraine, providing Ukraine with hundreds of additional air defense interceptors over the next year. Donating such a system comes at a high price for non-US NATO members, as delivery times are long. Romania, for instance, donated its only battery and asked that US to replace them rapidly, which they have not done so far. On the same day, NATO announced that members will order a 940 anti-aircraft surface-to-air Stinger missiles for 700 million euros. So there's your update on the armistice that are being delivered to Ukraine to help them defend their land and hopefully take back some of the territory Russia has occupied. And in my river sure isn't dirty as you think news. This is from Fleur Theron on France 3, Paris 2024. Olympic champion, he's not Olympic champion yet, but competitor Paralympic champion Alexis Honquiquant regrets a stigmatization of Seine. He is against the modification of open water swimming events in triathlon in the event of poor quality of the river water, because he's totally fine with getting cholera. Seine is no dirtier than anyone else, declared the reigning Paralympic triathlon champion. Oh, he's the reigning champion. Alex Honquiquant on Wednesday, the 10th of July, according to whom the idea of a duathlon as a last resort in the event of degraded water quality would be a berezzina, which I'm assuming is probably like a word for disappointment. Well, supposedly it's a reference to the Battle of Berezina, which took place on the 26th to 29th of November in 1812 between Napoleon and the Imperial Russian Army. So I guess it's the idea of, it's kind of become a colloquial term. It's going to be like that, where Napoleon ended up retreating towards Poland in the chaos and aborted the occupation of Moscow. So he's saying if we abandon the triathlon, it will be just like when Napoleon abandoned Moscow. I remain convinced that if you do a survey of triathletes and open water swimmers, 95% of them don't care about swimming the Seine, Alexis Honquiquant told AFP and Le Parisien after official announcement of his selection for the Paris Paralympic Games for August 28th to September 8th. The Seine, which is due to host the triathlon and open waters event during the Olympic Games, and then the para-triathlon events at the beginning of September, remained unfit for swimming for almost the entire month of June due to excessive bacteriological pollution. The river recently fell below thresholds defined by the European Directive for 4 days, including 2 consecutive days, June 28th to 29th, a clearing which does not prevent questions from being raised about the state of the water in the times of the test. The 6-time world champion regrets a stigmatization of the Seine. In particular, if we put everything in context, our international competitions always take place in big cities, so we can imagine that the quality of water is not great, he explains. The false problem, the Seine is not dirtier than anywhere else, he said, who believes that the debate is getting out of hand. In the event of too much water damage, postponing the triathlon event by a few days is an option, and a transformation into a duathlon is also possible as a last resort. According to Alexis, the possibility is not plan B, but a crappy plan. It will not be the same sport. Tell a basketball player that he's going to play a match with a handball. He regrets also fearing an impact on the sporting logic. If historically we were the first to go through the duathlon, this has never happened during the games, editor note, I would not be proud to be French, he added. At 38 years old, Norman Alexis Honquiquant will be the leader of the French delegation composed of 21 para-triathletes, including 4 guides, unveiled on Wednesday on July 10th by the French Triathlon Federation. Paralympic champion in Tokyo, he is the big favorite to succeed himself. Are you interested in sport? Oh, sorry, that's just a thing. But that's your sports news from Paris. So Alexis says, hey, the water's not dirty. Put me in, coach. So I guess I think at that point you do have to just kind of get the consent form, liability waiver, and say, I agree to swim in the dirty river. I cannot, I cannot fine the Olympic organization for making me swim in a crap-filled river. and then maybe it'll be fine. You just take the forms out. A lot of paperwork, and people don't want to do paperwork, so that's probably why they're like, how about we just make this simple so we don't have to do paperwork?
Well, turds can be a flotation device.
Yeah.
A big old giant one. There we go. It's got a lot of air in it. Cling to that one.
But that's the story.
All right. I'm just going to send you a link. It's a short one. All right. And American news, we have our favorite grifting Supreme Court justices. Of course, Clarence Thomas has no equal, but Samuel Alito does his fair grifting too. And they're both being put up for articles of impeachment by the U.S. House of Representatives, at least put to a vote at some point. They'll probably lose the vote, but here's the story anyway. New York Democratic Rep, this is from ABC News. That was all over the news yesterday. New York Democratic Rep Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has introduced articles of impeachment against Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. Ocasio-Cortez has long criticized multiple conservative members of the Supreme Court. That's irrelevant to this story, so why they bring it up. But the rhetoric of the impeachment was amped up on the wake of the recent rulings. And so as you're editorializing in the middle of an article. The unchecked corruption cases of the Supreme Court has now spiraled into a constitutional crisis, threatening American democracy writ large, Ocasio-Cortez said in a statement. Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito's pattern of refusal to recuse from consequential matters before the court in which they hold widely documented financial and personal entanglements constitutes a grave threat to American rule of law and the integrity of our democracy, and one of the clearest cases for which the tool of impeachment was designed. Ocasio-Cortez specifically criticized gifts Thomas received from his friend, billionaire Harlan Crow. Clarence Thomas, in his conduct as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors by refusing to report the source, description, and value of gifts, by failing to report real estate real estate property, Ocasio-Cortez wrote in the articles, going on to list the gifts he did not reportedly reveal. He did not reveal. Thomas acknowledged in the latest annual financial report released in June, and he had inadvertently omitted reimbursement for food and lodging expenses from the July 2019 travel. And that's not the only one. The article against Thomas, who was nominated for Supreme Court by Herbert Walker Bush, in 1991, also cites Thomas' refusal to recuse from matters concerning his spouse's legal matters, interest in cases before the court, and refusal to recuse from matters involving his spouse's financial interest in cases before the court. As for Alito, who was nominated by George W. Bush in 2005, Ocasio-Cortez, cites his refusal to recuse from cases in which he had a personal bias or a prejudice concerning a party in cases before the court, and a failure to disclose financial income, gifts, and reimbursements, property interests, liabilities, transactions, and other information. Several other justices, including Neil Gorsuch, Sonia Sotomayor, and John Roberts, have also been criticized for monetary or personal ties to business and groups with cases before the court, but not quite to this extent. Let's put it that way. These two are the champions. Well, actually, Clarence Thomas is a champion. Alito just has a fetish about turning flags upside down, and his wife does, which is basically the same thing. At least the Supreme Court's always said that. Congress has the authority to remove a federal judge for treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors through a vote of impeachment by the House of Representatives and a trial and conviction by Senate, according to the administrative offices of the U.S. courts. Article 3 of the Constitution adds that judges shall hold their offices during good behavior. There you go. Simple majority vote is required for the House to adopt the Articles 218 for impeachment. Right now, 219 seats are Republican and 213 are Democrats. Only one Supreme Court justice has ever been impeached, according to the Federal Judicial Center. Well, why would they lie? These articles are
That's
weird.
silly, yeah, lying.
Yeah. Associate Justice Samuel Chase was impeached by the United States House of Representatives in 1804 on charges of arbitrary and oppressive conduct of trials of Senator states. However, he was acquitted by the U.S. Senate in 1805 and remained on a bench. And our other story, the world economies are well, at least the stronger economies, especially the United States, is booming. As the stock market also indicates that people are taking their profits, they're going and buying stocks and just going crazy on Wall Street and other exchanges. This is from Elaine Kurtenbach of AP News. Stock market today, world shares keep climbing as Japan's Nikkei. Wall Street set more records. This is about an hour ago she posted this story, so it's very recent. World shares fought higher on Thursday after another record-setting rally on Wall Street as Japan Nikkei 225 index closed over 42,000 for the first time. Germany's DAX gained 0.2% to 18,000 and some. The CAC 40 in Paris rose 0.5% to 7,600 and some odd number. In London, the FTSE 100 advanced 0.4 to 8,200 something. Futures of the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Standard & Poor's were down by 0.1. Okay, but it's still in record territory. In Tokyo, the Nikkei 225 jumped to 0.9%, jumped 0.9% to finish at 42,224.02. Again, surpassing its all-time record after closing at records on Tuesday and Wednesday. Buying was strong for a wide range of shares, with electronics makers making leading gains. Sony Group Corp jumped 3.6%. Disco Corp, which makes precision tools, was up 3.4%. Electric components maker Murata Manufacturing gained 2.8%. Elsewhere in Asia, Hang Seng in Hong Kong climbed 2.1%. The Shanghai Composite Index in China surged 1.1%. In Seoul, the Kospi advanced 0.8%, and Australia's Standard & Poor's rose 0.9%. Taiwan's TAKES advanced 1.6%. Taiwan's Semiconductor Manufacturing Corp, just that one corporation, jumped 3.4%. TSMC's U.S. listed shares rose 3.5% on Wednesday after it said its revenue climbed 33% in June from last year. The company makes chips for NVIDIA and others that have been driving the business world's rush into artificial intelligence technology. So we're getting AI-driven, what do you call it, a satellite. We get a AI-driven bubble, you want to call it.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a bubble. It might be a bubble. We'll see. When it
AI
pops,
bubble.
Promise it. Yeah, an AI bubble. That's kind of dangerous because I don't really see the greatest applications that these people want to put them through. They don't seem to be passing that test. They're even barely passing. They're coming close to passing these tests. The promise of big profits in the future from AI is sent NVIDIA in particular to breathtaking heights over last year. NVIDIA rose another 2.7% on Wednesday to bring its gain for the year so far to 172.5%. It was again the strongest single force pushing the Standard & Poor's 500 upward on its rally on Wall Street, stretched into a seventh day as big technology companies led the way. The U.S. stock market vaulted to more all-time highs on Wednesday, leading to a big technology companies whose shares have been soaring thanks to frenzy over artificial intelligence. Hopes for cuts to interest rates have also pushed markets higher. Hopes for interest rates cuts push the markets higher. Imagine what will happen when they actually do cut interest rates. Come on, Fed, stop being tightwads. The Standard & Poor's 500 jumped to 1% and topped 5,600 level for the first time, closing at 5633.91. And NASDAQ Composite rallied 1.2% to 18,600 and something, and the Dow Industrials gained 1.1% to 39,721, almost to its all-time high. Advanced Micro Devices was another major force behind the stock market's leap, and it jumped 3.9% after announcing a $665 million deal to buy Silo AI and European AI Lab. Markets have been knocking on records despite a slowing. Oh, here we go. Talking about the slowing economy. Hopes that inflation is slowing enough for the Federal Reserve to deliver much sought cuts to interest rates last year, also driving buying enthusiasm. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who was appointed by Trump, who just keeps trying to hold back the economy, returned to Capitol Hill to give testimony about interest rates, where he echoed many of his comments from the day before. He said it was not sending any signals about when cuts rates could arrive, but he pointed out the downsides of being too late on them. Well, then stop trying to be too late. Geez, dude, cut rates. It's not that freaking hard. Hey, we're going to cut rates by a quarter point today, and everybody will lose their freaking minds with excitement. That's all you gotta do. Everybody will be happy. But no, we're just gonna keep putting it off. It's like, I know we were gonna give you a raise this year, but blah, 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 blah. Like, I didn't hear anything after that.
I wanted to buy a new yacht, so you're gonna have to hold out for another 20 years. So I can pay for my yacht.
No, it's always my fifth yacht needs a crew. That's usually what it is. Not even the first yacht. I can see the first yacht. I can be the excitement about that. It's the extra yachts that just get to me. Anyway, the economy's doing great. Long story short, much of Wall Street is expecting the Fed to begin cutting its main interest rate in September, but traders have a long history of jumping the gun. Powell acknowledged a recent improvement in inflation, but reiterated the Fed is not confident inflation is sustainably heading towards a goal of 2%. That's your artificial goal that you're no control of. Later Thursday, the U.S. government will release the latest monthly update on inflation. Economists expect to show the U.S. consumers paid prices for food. I hate when I gotta pop P's in a sentence. Airline tickets and everything else that were 0.1% higher in June than last year. That would be a touch slower than May's 3.3 inflation rate. I guess the magic is 2.9. Maybe they'll start thinking about it. Actually, it's lower than that, but we're measuring things as a consumer price, right?
Yeah.
Instead of excluding fuel and food costs, they're only that index went up like 2.6%. So they're cheating again when they're acting like it's not under 3. With the Federal Reserve wanting to see more good data, the U.S. inflation print will play a significant role in validating if markets are getting ahead of themselves in pricing for a rate cut as early as September this year. Yeep Jun Rong of IG said in a commentary. In other dealings on Thursday, U.S. benchmark crude gained 12 cents to $82 a barrel. If oil is only $82 a barrel, why is gas so expensive? Anyway, U.S. benchmark crude gained 12 cents at $82.22 per barrel in electronic trading in New York Mercantile Exchange. Brent crude, the international standard, picked up 16 cents at $85 per barrel. The U.S. dollar fell 161.5 Japanese yen from 161.66. The euro rose to $1.88 from $1. Well, it basically stayed the same. That's negligible. The 0.1 of a cent difference. Oh my God. All right, there's your economic news. It's all good. The only thing that's not good is the Fed just stalling on interest rates when they know that's what's going to really drive people.
That's been the same song and dance for the last year now, I think.
It'll drive people to refinance their mortgages. It'll drive people to buy houses. It'll buy cars. Maybe take a credit card out. That'll just stimulate the economy even more. But he's afraid of that for some reason. I don't know.
Oh well. Can't, unless you're working there, you can't do much about it. Who even works there?
I sent you a link.
Yeah,
Did I send you that link or not? Okay. I don't remember because I'm half awake. I don't remember if I sent it or not.
All right. Well, speaking of the government making decisions, the EU has decided to halt Georgia's accession to the EU over their much criticized law they passed. This is by Sofiko Megrodledzi and Lauren Cook on AP News. Georgia's ascension to the European Union has been halted, and some of the bloc's financial support to the South Caucasus region has been frozen after the Georgian authorities adopted a new law that critics feared would curb democratic freedoms, the EU ambassador in Georgia said on the 9th of July. According to Paweł Herzyński, EU leaders made the decision to halt the process during the last summit of the European Council, and came in the wake of the Georgian authorities adopting the law on foreign influence despite weeks of protests. In addition, a total of 30 million euros or $32.5 million in financial support earmarked for Georgia's defense ministry in 2024 has been frozen, Hersenzinski said at a news conference. This is only the first step. There will be other steps. Our direct support to the government of Georgia will be limited. We will seek to redirect support from the government of Georgia to civil society and the media, he said. It is sad to see the EU-Georgia relations at such a low point, when they could have been at an all-time high. So they kicked Georgia out, but they still keep Hungary. Interesting. Very interesting. I guess it's harder to kick somebody else once they're in, huh? I mean, even the UK had a hard time, and they were leaving. They didn't get kicked out. They just left. The law, which came into effect last month despite mass protests and a veto from the country's president, requires media, non-government organizations, and other non-profit groups to register as pursuing the interest of a foreign power if they receive more than 20% of their funding from abroad. The opposition has denounced the bill as the Russian law because Moscow uses similar legislation to stigmatize independent news media, organizations, and individuals critical of the Kremlin, and called it its passage a sign of a neighboring Russia's hold over Georgia. It's really interesting.
They just want to be like Daddy Putin.
Well, Georgia is vehemently against Russia, so it's interesting that they're taking, I guess, the lead from Russia's own laws.
At least they're right wing.
Yeah, EUs have officially repeatedly denounced the law as undemocratic and said it would hinder Georgia's path to EU membership. The bloc agreed to grant membership candidate status to Georgia in December on condition that it fight disinformation, including against the EU, bring its foreign and security policies into line with the bloc's, and introduce new justice reforms, among other measures. Membership talks did not get underway. To start talks with the candidate, the 27 EU nations and that country must agree on a negotiating mandate. EU experts must also conduct a screening procedure to analyze how much work needs to be done to bring Georgia's laws and standards into line with those of the bloc. Once these preconditions have been met, an intergovernmental conference would be called, with Georgia to officially launch the start of talks. Each step requires unanimous agreement from the EU member states and can be blocked at any point. At the summit on June 27th, EU leaders warned Georgia that its path towards membership would be blocked unless the foreign influence law was repealed. They called on Georgia's authority to clarify their intentions by reversing the current course of action, which jeopardizes Georgia's EU path, de facto leading to the halt of the accession process. In the days before the summit, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said the bloc was considering putting a hold on financial assistance to the government in Tbilisi and downgrading political contacts. It was not clear how much money overall would be affected. In a separate development, the United States earlier this month indefinitely postponed military drills in Georgia, a move that U.S. Department of Defense said came as part of the comprehensive review of the relations between Washington and Tbilisi. Georgia's President Salom Zorobabishvili, who had been at odds with the country's government on Tuesday, July 9th, called the moves by the EU and the US very difficult messages from the two of our closest friends that are worth listening to. Well, that's the problem. The problem with President Salom is that he vetoed the law, but they just outvoted him again. So this is, in a way, some could consider it a rogue parliament or a rogue Senate or whatever kind of house they use. Just their law-making bodies saying, we're passing this law, we don't give a shit about how it's going to affect us and our ascension to the EU, because we'd rather just have closing the lanes of any foreign influence, I guess. Although this is a response to the stupid and hostile policies of the ruling party towards them, at the same time, it's a warning to society. Our partners tell us that the choice is yours between Georgia with a secure European future and Georgia moving towards the Russian orbit, Zorobabishvili said. So, that's kind of, we don't want to make it two sides, but it's becoming two sides. You're either part of the EU or you're part of Russia. So which one is it gonna be? Are you joining the demagogue club or what? I don't think he wants to be in it. Like I said, I don't think the president wants it. It's their lawmaking body that is seemingly going towards that direction.
The nationalistic fascist factions within this right wing. Let's be like Putin. Let's swing for that Putin wall.
No, thank you.
Okay, is that it then?
That's it. That's the story.
Okay, so we get on to our Thursday 13. Have you ever wondered, I don't know if you have, but you ever wonder how many satellites are in space? Just like, wow, how many there is.
I mean, one of my
turns out
things I like to do is look at the stars, right? And then I'm like, wait, am I even looking at stars right now?
Satellites tend to move, though, right?
Yeah.
Some of them stay geosynchronous, but a lot of them are on the move. But it turns out you can't really find accurate information about how many actual satellites are in this space. The biggest number I found. Some of them
are government protected, right? Like, oh, those are secret satellite that nobody can know about except for the CIA or something.
Yeah, but you can still see them. They can't hide that part. They have solar panels that reflect the sun. You can't miss them, right? You can still see them. There's a website called Pixelytics that their count as of July of last year was 11,330 satellites, individual satellites orbiting Earth at the end of June 2023, a whopping 37.94 increase since January 2022. And it goes on to list every satellite that's ever been launched, and that comes up to 15,946. Of course, some of them didn't make it. Some of them burned out from time, but there's been 4,000 things.
There was a Russian one returning, right? Like a couple weeks ago, we reported on a
Russian they burn up and they fall. Mm-hmm. They usually burn up completely, I suppose, but a lot of them don't. The whole thing doesn't. But that's about 4,000 things that either have fallen back to Earth or are not working anymore and just floating around in space junk. Anyway, here's a list. The countries that have the most. You might be curious. I don't know if you are or not, but the countries that have the most satellites. And again, the numbers aren't accurate because they change all the time anyway. But the most accurate count was this one site that I just cited, that I just talked about. What are they called again? They're called Pixelytics.com, and they have a list of the top 10 countries, and I had to look up the rest and make a rough list.
Yeah, 13.
I had to make a rough list because the numbers are all different depending on where you look, but it's usually the right order. Now, and again, there is satellites out there that belong to several countries at once. They're not necessarily on this
International Space Station.
Right, and there's satellites that are just private companies, right?
Yeah.
That are
SpaceX.
Right, renting their space out to other private companies or countries or whoever, right?
Just
but
like
they got the money to do it.
Radio antennas work, right? You just have a long pole with 10 things on it.
Yeah, there's so many satellites up there. It's mind-boggling and it's astronomical almost. And here, like I said, 11,300 is a low number because it was from last year. So there's been more that launched this year, of course. And the most launched year ever in history was the year 2022. Let me get that number for you before I go on anymore. 2022, 2,474 satellites were launched into space. 2,000. Wow. Think about how many that is a day, right? That's about 6 or 7 a day. Worldwide are going into space in 2022. Slowed down a bit last year to 1,354, but that was the third most all time.
I mean, it's crazy that it
the pandemic
stays high, right? Because you think you would put them out there and then they stay up there for 5 years and then you do another one. But no, it's like every year you're putting more and more and more, right? You're just adding.
Yeah, there's something like 8,000, right? Mm-hmm. Something close to 8,000, at least 7,000 or something. If I do the math, in the last 4 years, if you count 20, 21, 22, and 23, yeah, it's been a real surge. So back to what I was back to my dry erase board. Countries of the most, no surprise here. USA, number 1, it actually isn't even close. Not even close.
We got the space agency, right?
That's right. Yeah, we want to be in space. We love space. Trump even invented Space Force. I don't know if they're sending more satellites, but anyway, Space Force is there. It's like a... Number 2 is China. Not a real surprise there either. They have a very extensive space agency and a lot of money and a lot of time to do
they also
that.
like to be in space.
Number 3 might be a bit of a surprise. UK.
Oh. Yeah, they don't get a
Even
lot
though
of
Russia...
space stories, you know?
Yeah, right. The UK, now, raw numbers, and I could run that by you if you want. But these numbers are accurate because I get a different number depending on which website I go to.
You can just say about.
Well,
About this many.
That part of this story. Yeah, UK, 561 satellites. Just slightly less than China.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 is Russia. Now, Russia, that's a little tricky because they do have a lot of satellites that they share with other people. But their own specific satellites, they're only 4th. They're only 4th on the list, way behind UK. But
how communist of them to share their satellites.
Now, there's a former Soviet consortium, right? Because all those satellites that were launched, before the Soviet Union broke up, a lot of them are still there.
Yeah, so those are considered Russian, I guess.
I guess, yeah. They're considered Soviet because they share them with, Ukraine and everybody who was part of the Soviet Union at the time. I don't know. It's all complicated. Space is not simple. Number 5 is India, the country with the most people. Lagging in satellites, though. Yeah. Number 6, kind of a shock, but not really. They got a lot of empty sky. Canada with a lot of empty sky above them.
Can you lean the board a little more? Yeah, because there's a reflection.
Am I not covering it? I need to look at my camera feed before I get it. Okay, so where am I? Which last one did I made? India.
Yeah.
Okay. And the next one on the list is...
In Canada and Germany.
Germany! Yes, Germany. Again, a lot of these ones in the lower part of the list are kind of crowded together in quantities.
Oh, it's like...
So they're not a big difference.
412, 416 or something.
It's more like 47 and 48.
Really? Wow.
More like that.
That low already.
Yeah, so, Luxembourg has a surprising amount of satellites.
I didn't even know they had
Luxembourg.
a place to launch them from, but...
The world's richest country has 45 Hey, they can launch them from Cape Canaveral as long as they're paying for the fare,
fuel.
Right?
Yeah.
They can launch them for right. Then there's Argentina. You wouldn't think Argentina, but there you go. South America checks in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Argentina checking in from at the number 9 position. Number 10 is Spain. Spain has a lot of satellites up. Not ridiculous amount, but enough to get on our list. Number 10, 11, South Korea.
Yeah,
North Korea didn't quite make the list, but South Korea. Yeah.
What do they have,
and
like
they're
10
a new
or 12
player.
or something?
I believe it's 30. So it's in the 30s.
30,
nobody on this list is below. Nobody on this list is below 30.
Okay.
Number 12 is Israel. Israel has a number of satellites, anywhere from 27 to 35, depending on which list you look on. So Israel checks in number 12. And number 13, and the last one to make our list is Austria. I had to check. It wasn't Australia.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's going to be any more Southern Hemisphere, but that's it. Just Argentina. If you even want to count them Southern Hemisphere, I guess they are. No, they definitely are.
Other countries are falling behind, I guess. Yeah, so there's your list, and people just barely making the list. I'm sorry, that is Australia, not Austria. So that's, again, me transcribing with a modicum of sleep today.
Because I would think that whatever Germany has, they just rent. Austria just rents Germany's.
Yeah, Australia. Sorry, folks. Totally different place. I made the same. I made the mistake that Jim Carrey made in Dumb and Dumber, where the model says he's from Australia. He goes, put another shrimp on the Barbie. Barely not making the list are Brazil and Turkey. We get honorable mention. They're in the 20s. So there's your list of countries with satellite. Future space junk.
It's how we're getting our internet and probably other
everything
things.
else, right? Timing for everything. Timing for all things timed.
And now we're being watched by Big Brother with their
Oh, yeah,
giant
constantly.
zoom telescope satellites. Totally a thing.
Hi, guys. Doing nothing again today, big brother.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about, we were kind of talking about Soviet satellites, let's go back in time to 1964, which is the triumphant return of the Beatles, where they did their huge premiere of A Hard Day's Night, and they visit their home city for a premiere on July 11th, 1964. This is an archive from The Guardian. They don't even know who wrote this article originally. They don't even have a byline. They just say by our own reporter. Like, so somebody on The Guardian wrote this in 1964. The Beatles returned to Liverpool last night to attend the northern premiere of their film A Hard Day's Night, and presumably put an end to the rumors that their popularity in Merseyside was on the wane. In case any readers have just come from Mars, the Beatles are the four long-haired musicians who sing rock and roll music and have become a permanent part of the Liverpool scene as the site of ferry boats on the Mersey. But unlike the Mersey ferries, the Beatles have been playing in foreign waters: America, Australia, France, and what is even more obnoxiously foreign to Liverpudlians, London. Thus, the care and caution of Mr. Brain Epstein, the Beatles' manager, Mr. Brian Epstein, the Beatles' manager, in organizing this triumphant return. If Mr. Epstein did spend any sleepless nights worrying about the Beatles' honor in their own country, he was wasting his time. Long before the aircraft from London arrived at Speke Airport, all the sites of successful re-entrance to Liverpool were there. The rooftop at the airport was crowded with screaming teenagers, a prerequisite to the Beatles' entrances and exits, and there were so many policemen on duty that it looked as if they were there to protect each other. Hysteria! The mere sight of the aircraft coming in sent hysterical shrieking up from the rooftop. The teenagers cheered even the luggage that was being taken from the airplane's hold. There were no welcome home banners, a point which John Lennon, the author of Beatle, did not miss. The author of Beatle, that's what they wrote. The author of Beatle did not miss. He pointed to an airport sign reading "Naked Lights and Smoking Prohibited" and wondered what kind of welcome that was. The crowd at the airport was nothing compared with the scene outside the town hall where the civic reception was being held. Mounted police kept the crowd back from the town hall steps, but the appearance of a Beatle on the balcony, waving in the manner of a royalty, set screams with the sound almost as loud as Ringo's drums. Inside the town hall, things were slightly more sedate, but the police brass band was playing Beatles numbers from written down sheet music, and the members of Liverpool's establishment were displaying signs of Beatlemania. The families were present, the Beatles families were present, and they all seemed to have the brand of humor which had been associated with the musical group. Georgia's mother, a stout woman with rolling Liverpool accent, said that the only thing that she was sorry about the reception was the fact that she hadn't worn her topless dress. And John's uncle, a mustachioed ex-army man, said, "The only advice I'd ever gave John was to get a haircut. It's a good thing he didn't take it." There was a number of personalities present, among them Alun Owen, the Liverpool-born playwright who wrote the script for the Beatles film, and Lionel Blair, the dancer, and David Jacobs, the television personality. At the end of the reception, the Beatles got up to thank everyone for their homecoming. Paul, who with John writes the Beatles songs, said that he hoped they would all enjoy the film. So the reception seemingly ended with no mishaps. Then, however, even everyone turned to leave, they found that all doors had been locked. One member of this captured audience commented in a heavy Scouser accent, "Epstein must have been really anxious about the reception. He's all got us boarded up in here." So that was their arrival back in Liverpool after their huge tour and their Hard Day's Night premiere, where they locked all the crowds in so they wouldn't chase after the Beatles, I guess, back to their homes or wherever they were going. There's also a little short, a review of A Hard Day's Night from July 7th, 1964 by Ian Wright. Banned in Israel, bombarded with eggs in Brisbane. Sir Alec's secret weapon and good old Mr. Wilson's friend came back with a sustained scream at London Pavilion last night. A scream that will resound round Piccadilly for many months to come. A Hard Day's Night, or more simply, the Beatles film, is a worthy successor to Tom Jones, which it replaces. It is not necessary to analyze Beatlemania to pronounce the film a hit. As a film, it is a competent piece of work and no weak attempt to cash in on passing popularity. Sweat and skill have gone into its making. The direction, Richard Lester, the black and white photography, and the lighting, Gilbert Taylor, add to the Beatles' performance a worthwhile cinematic contribution. Alan Owen has written the script with lightness and sureness, one long, smooth, and freewheeling ad-lib. The story is not strong and concerns Paul McCartney's improbable Irish grandfather, Wilfred Bramble, but this hardly seems to matter as the four boys, all noses and mops, rush about the screen, deflating, mocking, and producing the unexpected and never boring. The film lasts a reasonable 85 minutes. Oh, remember when films were that short? This is the Beatles being themselves. Professionalism, amateurs in the best sense. On film, their directness comes over splendidly, as their niceness and their nose. And also, sing. So there's your little cute review and your little blast to the past. The Beatles are re-arriving at their hometown of Liverpool. So, make
those
you feel
lovable
old.
mop tops. Those lovable mop tops, whatever became of them.
Boy, do I got a story for you.
Back in the day, back when I was just a toddler. What's a Beatle? Okay, so is this day in history?
Yep.
Okay, this day in history, which is July 11th. What happened? Let's look at the right page, correct page for the correct date, and we'll get to it. And this day in 1303, in the Battle of the Golden Spurs, a untrained Flemish infantry militia defeated the professional force of French and patrician Flemish cavalry, thus halting the growth of French control over Belgium. They stopped them in their tracks, they did. 1798, in this day, the U.S. Marine Corps, originally established in 1775, was formally reestablished. Okay. Why did you unestablish them? Okay. 1863, angered by unfair practices in Civil War conscription, the New York City workers rioted and attacked draft headquarters. The draft riots. 1863. 1914, George Herman Babe Ruth played in his first Major League Baseball game for the Boston Red Sox. On this day in 1914, 110 years ago. 1916, Australian politician Gough Whitlam, who served as country prime minister from 72 to 75, when he was dismissed by the Governor General, was born in Kew, Victoria. Again, that's Australian politician, not Austrian, as I having trouble reading today. 1936, the Triborough Bridge, later renamed the RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Bridge, designed by David Barnard Steinman, opened in New York City. Happy birthday to the Triborough Bridge. It goes to 3 boroughs, so it's called the Triborough Bridge. In 1953, on this day, Leon Spinks was born, who, like his brother Michael, won a world boxing title, gold medal. Also, they should call it gold medal. The first set of brothers to do so. Michael and Leon were also both heavyweight champions at different times. Leon Spinks beat Muhammad Ali at one time and then lost to Muhammad Ali. Michael Spinks was champion when, let's say Mike Tyson fought him. It wasn't much of a fight. It was more like Michael Spinks getting obliterated in about 35 seconds. That was a terrible fight. I remember that one. Oof. Michael Spinks was not a very successful heavyweight champion. Yeah, Mike Tyson tore him down. 1955, U.S. Air Force Academy officially opened at temporary headquarters at Lowry Air Force Base in Denver, Colorado. In 1960, American author Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird was published and became a classic, noted for its sensitive treatment of a child's awakening to racism and prejudice in the South. To Kill a Mockingbird. In 1989, British actor Laurence Olivier, arguably the greatest English-speaking actor of the 20th century, died near London. 2007, Lady Bird Johnson passed away. Lady Bird Johnson was an environmentalist and the wife of Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th president of the United States. It does not say how old she was, just said, she died. Okay.
And she famously got in a fight with Catwoman. In a
really?
bit of a hysterical fit where she was blackballed by Hollywood for 20 years.
Are you talking about Eartha Kitt? The Eartha Kitt Catwoman. Yeah, Eartha Kitt was
blacklisted
definitely a
in
civil rights
Hollywood
lady.
because Lady Bird and her had some sort of miscommunication. I watched a video on it.
They had to replace her with a white Catwoman at some point.
Yeah.
Or maybe she just quit. She probably just quit.
Well, according to her, she couldn't get a job. She was literally trying, and they would not let her.
Right.
They would not hire her for anything. Suddenly, everyone said, "Oh, we don't want you anymore." Huh? What happened?
Yep.
No.
Exactly. Yeah, because she wanted to bring up civil rights at some tea thing at the White House. I remember that.
Oh no, this was just us pretending to
be
do something for the country, not actually doing something, idiot. Oh, I'm stupid. Sorry.
Yeah, she should have known better. Don't upset the white people. 2015, a Mexican criminal, Joaquin Guzman, who, what the heck do they know? Who escaped who was the head of the Sinaloa drug cartel, escaped from prison using a lengthy underground tunnel. A massive manhunt followed, and he was captured against it such later. They call El Chapo. That's what they call him. El Chapo. Why are we calling him Joaquin Guzman? Jesus.
Nobody knows
I'm
that.
trying to think of his name.
Yeah, nobody knows who that is.
Damn it, Britannica. Now, if I just do a search for El Chapo, what comes up, right? El Chapo, there he is, same guy. Damn it, Britannica. It's El Chapo. I don't care if you give me all the kinds of other criminals' birthdays. You can't get this guy's, the moniker that everybody knows him by. Hey, remember Joaquin Guzman? No, never heard of him. How about Chapo? Oh yeah. Jesus. Anyway, duel between Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton happened on this day in 1804. That's our featured event. Outraged over disparaging remarks that Alexander Hamilton had allegedly made at a dinner party, Aaron Burr challenged his longtime rival to a duel, and on this day in 1804, he fatally shot Hamilton in Weehawken, New Jersey.
And then his son did the same thing, right?
Weehawken.
Tragic.
And whose birthday is it today? It is Robert the Bruce's birthday. The original Braveheart, yes, Robert the Bruce, born on July 11th, 1274, died June 7th, 1329 at the age of 54. In Cardross, Scotland, other birthdays today. John Quincy Adams, President of the United States, born in 1767. Rudolf Abel, Soviet spy, born in 1903. Yul Brynner, Magnificent Seven, The King and I, Russian-born actor, born in 1920. Giorgio Armani, Italian fashion designer Armani, turned 90 today, born in 1934. And Jhumpa Lahiri, American author, born in 1967. And national days calendars, National Cheer Up the Lonely Day. Hey, lonely person, I don't know, buy them a sandwich. How do you cheer up lonely people? You cheer them up and then you go away and they're back to being lonely. So I don't even know what
right? Doesn't it just make you feel bad? Like, oh, I have to go.
And then you leave him and he's like,
yeah,
I have to go hug you for another 12 minutes because you're going to feel lonely when I leave.
I feel so guilty.
Oh my God, a clingy person. National Blueberry Muffin Day today. It's National Rainier Cherry Day. Rainier cherry is a special type of cherry. I imagine it grows in Washington State near Mount Rainier. I'm just guessing. They're kind of pinkish, peachy color. Not quite bright red. Kind of orangish. Anyway, it's actual National 7-Eleven Day, and then get your Slurpee, whatever they're giving away. Don't drive past the 7-Eleven because you're gonna get something for free just for walking in the door. So go in there. It's National Mojito Day and National Pet Photo Day. Make a picture of your pet. People love taking pictures of their pets, man, more than they love their children. Let's face it, children stop being cute at some point. Pets never do.
Hey! My
What?
feelings. I'm always cute and adorable.
Well, am I? Am I?
Yes.
No, I'm not. So there you go. They stop being cute and adorable. At some point, I'm past that age. Anyway, those are your stories. Those are your dates. Those are your things that happen. This is your National Day. July 11th, 7-Eleven, 24 on Before Blueberry Muffins. Oh, National Mojito Day. You can't forget that. National Mojito Day. Oh, I
Have your
almost skipped that.
blueberry muffin and your mojito, and that's your food for today. This has been
Oh, yeah.
Allison here from the Netherlands, where the sun is out. So I guess it's mojito weather, and I don't even know what's in a mojito, and I'm not gonna make one because I'd probably pass out because I never drink.
It's rum, lime juice, and mint. And I'm not sure what else.
A minty drink. Go refresh yourself. As always, since it's summer, sunscreen. Actually, wear sunscreen all year long because you can get melanoma from at any time from the sun. It doesn't wait until the summer to give it to you. Stay cool out there. Drink water. And I guess don't go to Barcelona or Madrid because Spain is anti-tourist right now. So don't go there. They
and
don't
it's really
like
hot.
you. They will bully
It's really
you.
hot anyway.
They don't
It's
want
probably 100
tourism.
there.
But anyways,
Yeah, screw them.
we will see you tomorrow for our Friday's news dump. We'll cover everything that's happened before the weekend, so you can go have a great weekend and fun time. And here is our mic drop moment. Quite short one today.
So like Chairman Aguilar said, we hear a lot from our constituents on different issues, but something I've heard that doesn't seem to be being covered are the Epstein files. These files
true.
are
Yeah, what
released,
happened?
and like Donald Trump's sort of all over this, right? There are pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein. He's taken multiple plane flights with Epstein with young girls on board. He is on call logs with Epstein. One of the highest trending hashtags on Twitter right now is about Trump and Epstein. I'm not going to repeat the hashtag because we're in a dignified
I
setting.
gotta find that hashtag.
But
and
yeah, y'all might want
post
to look
this.
at that because that's highly
Yeah.
disturbing. And again, it shows that Donald Trump is unfit for office. And by the way,
It'll link
he
it
was
all the
convicted
documents with his
in a
names on
civilian
them.
court for sexual assault, convicted in a separate court of 34 felonies. Donald Trump should drop out of the race.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.